Well, I want to take up where Deputy Barry left off, because one of the things that really depresses me, faced with the frightening rise of the far right and openly racist, in some cases openly neo-fascist organisations, is the poverty of analysis, the deep cynicism and often dishonesty of the political establishment, both here in this country and across Europe, faced with that dire threat of a return to the extreme nationalist and far-right politics of the 1930s that spelt such a disaster for Europe. And disappointingly, we heard that poor analysis and that dishonesty expressed by Deputy Donnelly in trying to link, incredibly, people before profit to the UKIPs of this world. But we hear it similarly echoed from Fianna Fáil, from Fine Gael, from Labour, from the Greens. I didn't interrupt you. You linked us to despicable people. And it shows a dishonesty of analysis and a failure to have any sense of humility about the failures of the political establishment in this country and Europe and their responsibility for giving rise to these vile political forces. You see, we are the ones on the left who again and again criticise Europe, not because it is too generous to immigrants, but because it allowed 7,000 immigrants to die in the Mediterranean because of a Fortress Europe policy, or the despicable policy which both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have their fingerprints on in imprisoning 4,000 people in the abomination that is direct provision, along with 1,500 children, setting up that system, maintaining that system, degrading young children, and say nothing about it. Those parties who fail to criticise Europe's racist Fortress Europe policy that has resulted in thousands of people dying in the Mediterranean, or despicable deals with Turkey to essentially force desperate Syrian refugees back into the hands of a rotten regime in Turkey with a despicable human rights record, or similar deals now being done with Libya, or deals being done by the European Union with Afghanistan to mass deport Afghan asylum seekers from the European Union back to Afghanistan. So we're the ones who speak up for the refugees. We're the ones who speak up for Ibrahim Alawa, who is rotting in an Egyptian prison, and whose sisters ask, why do the political establishment not do more? And I'll tell you what I believe. I'll tell you what I honestly believe. I believe that the beef deals are more important than the need to take a hard approach with the Egyptian regime. That's what you see. I didn't interrupt you, but you don't like it when you're criticised. You don't like it when you're criticised, Deputy Ryan. But I don't interrupt you, so why don't you shut up? And we are the ones who try and address the inequality that the political establishment in Europe have fostered and fermented, now interrupted by all three sides of the Dáil. Minister. Because all of you keep interrupting. You don't like being criticised. But the gross levels of inequality that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have presided over, that Europe has created, the high levels of homelessness, the housing crisis, it is these kinds of inequalities, these kinds of social injustices that provide the fuel for the rotten forces of the far right. And of course, nor is there any reflection of the similarities between the policies of the so-called moderate centre and these extreme right forces. Isn't it interesting? Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael support the race to the bottom in reducing corporate taxes on the big corporations, one of the major contributory factors to global economic inequality, and who supports the same policy? Donald Trump, Farage, Theresa May. They want to reduce the taxes on corporations as well, which has the only result of increasing the economic inequality that actually is giving rise to the far right. We certainly won't be taking lectures from a political establishment who is itself responsible in Europe and domestically for the rise of these forces. What we're trying to do is offer a genuine and radical progressive alternative and an anti-racist alternative to a failed establishment and a despicable far right.
Thank you, Deputy Maureen.